Oh, hello, Savannah. I didn't know you were here. How are you? Would you like to read this book with me? Okay. The Dog Who Followed the Moon. And on the cover, here's the little dog, and here is a wolf. Okay, a couple of pictures. Aren't they pretty? The Dog Who Followed the Moon by James Norbury. This book is divided into sections, and the first section is Dawn. Winter had come to the mountains. The great river ran deep and clear. And of all the trees, only the pines kept their dark, waxy needles. Alone for the first time in her life, Amaya wandered the silent landscape in search of her parents. Poor little puppy. For 2 days she traveled, her strength waning with every step, until one cloudless night she thought she heard a sound coming from the forest beyond, something she recognized. Keeping low, Amaya approached until she could see the source of it. Relief flooded through her as she saw it was just as she had hoped. More dogs, larger than her mother and father, and with different patterns in their fur. She thinks they're dogs, but they're wolves. She felt a wave of excitement and headed through the trees toward them. As she approached, the nearest wolf snapped its head around, yellow eyes bright in the darkness. Without hesitation, the creature leapt at Amaya, its teeth tearing a chunk of fur from her back. Amaya yelped and tried to run, but another wolf cut her off. And another, until she was surrounded by fierce eyes and bared teeth. There was no way out. She screwed up her eyes, hid under her paws, and waited for what she knew would come. Barks and snarls echoed through the cold morning air. Amaya had no idea what was happening, but she was still alive. She dared to peek with one eye, only to see that a single wolf, bigger and older than the others, stood over her. Although badly wounded, it seemed to be daring the pack to try something, but all they did was slowly circle. The big wolf saved her. That's the big wolf. Then one attacked. The big wolf grabbed Amaya in its teeth and ran. Trees flew past them in the darkness. She could hear the pack behind them, but gradually their baying faded, and the only sound was the wolf's panting and its paws drumming the snow. The wolf slowed to a stop and placed Amaya on the snowy ground. She looked up at the creature. It was wounded from the fight and panting hard. Its face was laced with a lifetime of scars, but she sensed a deep, still presence within it and was not afraid. We need to find. Are you all right? Asked the wolf. Amaya nodded slowly. You saved me. We need to find shelter, said the wolf. Come with me. And that's the end of the first part. Part 2 is evening. The snow showed no signs of stopping, and so Amaya and the wolf sought refuge in a cave. He had led his pack for almost a decade, but the wolf was now badly wounded and no longer the creature he once was. If he were to stay in the cave to rest, he might recover, maybe even one day return to the pack. Yet the wolf somehow knew this would never happen. He still had no idea what had possessed him to save this small puppy. All he knew was that it felt like the right thing to do. Amaya walked out of the cave and seated herself by the wolf. "Where are your parents?" asked the wolf. "I don't know," said Amaya. "We were separated in a storm." "Do you know which direction they might be?" Amaya shook her head. "To reach any destination," said the wolf, "you need a direction. Without knowing which way to travel, we won't be able to find your parents." Amaya looked helplessly out to the horizon, searching for an answer as to where they should go. She was silent for a moment and then turned to the wolf. "My mother once told me a tale about the moon." The wolf remained silent. "She said that if you followed the moon with all your heart, it would take you where you needed to be." The wolf snorted. "That's nonsense." "Oh," said Amaya, Seeing the puppy's face fall, the wolf instantly regretted his words. "But what would I know?" he said. "Perhaps your mother was right." "Do you think so?" asked Amaya. "I don't know," said the wolf. "Following the moon may not achieve anything, but staying here talking about it definitely won't." "But I don't know what lies in that direction," said Amaya. "It would be a journey into the unknown." A glint appeared in the wolf's eye. "That's my favorite kind." "We should start now," said the wolf, "for the moon will not wait for us." You never know when the clouds will come, and we'll wish we'd taken the chance while it was there. See how bright the moon is? As they passed between the birches, Amaya couldn't help but notice the wolf was limping and his breathing was labored. "Are you all right?" she asked. The wolf was not all right. He could feel the life ebbing from his body. But despite this, he knew this was the path he must take. He had never wanted anything so much as to protect this innocent creature's dream. What a nice wolf. "My form is breaking," said the wolf, "but I feel as though something inside me is changing and growing stronger." Amaya looked into the old wolf's eyes. "Are you sure? We could rest more." "No," said the wolf. "The path ahead is perhaps the most difficult one I will ever travel, but I will embrace it. I will devote myself fully to it, and I will welcome every trial that it brings, for I know it is what I need to take me where I need to be. Come," he said, gathering his strength. "Everything that is important will happen today." "What do you mean?" asked Amaya. "There is no tomorrow," said the wolf. "Tomorrow, when it matters, will be today." They continued through the forest, the moon high and bright above them. But as the forest thinned, their way was blocked by a towering cliff, stretching away to either side as far as they could see. With no means to scale it, the wolf turned to his right and began to follow the cliff. "Is this the best way?" asked Amaya, seeing that they were no longer heading in the direction of the moon. The wolf nodded. "Yes, Amaya, for now we are forced to head in a new direction, but everything before us is still the way. No matter the twists and turns, the trials and the obstacles, it is always the way, the path. You cannot walk another one, so we must have faith and give this one everything we have. Before long, they came across a deep fissure leading into the rock. Beyond, Amaya could just make out shaped stones, pillars, and stairs. This may take us back towards the moon, said the wolf. Amaya was not sure, but as the wolf had just said, this was now the path. She certainly did not want to be alone again, so ran to catch up with the wolf. The next section is midnight. Oh, look, they're going inside a big house. And see, the moon is still up there. The passage opened out into a maze of ancient ruined buildings. But to Amaya's excitement, she could see that by following a series of winding stone steps, they would once more be on the trail of the moon. When they reached the surface, before them rose the ruins of a city. Its streets were flooded, reflecting the moon in its dark, still waters. Amaya noticed the fresh wounds on the wolf's body, still wet in the moonlight, and her mind was drawn back to the fight. "Who were those other wolves?" asked Amaya. "They were my pack," said the wolf, "my friends for many years. They helped to make me who I am, and I owe them a great deal." Amaya looked confused. "Well," said the wolf, "you see the moon? Did you know it has no light of its own? It can only reflect the light of the sun. But the moon is at peace with this and just as beautiful as the sun." "What does the moon do for the sun?" asked Amaya. "It tells her of the stars and how the world looks under the veil of moonlight." Amaya smiled. "They are both very lucky." "They are," agreed the wolf, "because they have chosen to give to one another." "Do you see those flowers growing in the dark corner?" asked the wolf. "Without the fireflies, we wouldn't be able to see them. Sometimes it's the presence of another that lets us shine. If you remember this, Amaya, it will help you to not resent it when another thrives, but to welcome it and be glad for them. Another's gifts might be just what we need to unlock our own." See the pretty flowers? And they're the fireflies. And their light makes the flowers glow. "Then why were you fighting the rest of your pack?" asked Amaya. "If I'm honest, I don't know. I took you and ran. It seemed like the right thing to do." "Do you regret it?" asked Amaya. "No. Despite our current situation, I have never been more sure of anything." The wolf looked up to the night sky, feelings stirring in him that he'd long forgotten. "We are here now. This is my life, unfolding before me beneath the great moon." A freezing wind blew in from the north, and the snow turned into white, icy sleet. "Come," said the wolf, "we should find some shelter." In the safety of an abandoned observatory, the wolf and Amaya sat together watching the storm. The walls around them were painted with peeling murals depicting the moon and its passage across the heavens. It seems it had long fascinated those who had built this strange structure. Amaya wondered if in the past others had tried to follow the moon. All of a sudden she was struck by a thought that perhaps she was being naive to think she could follow the moon, that her quest was dangerous and foolish, and that the wolf knew this. "Thank you for coming on this journey with me," said Amaya. The wolf turned to her, and for the first time She saw his face soften into a smile. "The greatest journeys are the ones we take with others," he replied. The storm fell to a whisper, and the companions left the observatory, following a winding cobbled path that led down the hillside and into a dark wood. Amaya approached cautiously. She couldn't make out anything within the black depths of the trees. "It's very dark in there." "It is our path," said the wolf. Amaya remembered what he had said about not just following the path, not just accepting it, but embracing it, no matter the hardships. "It is," said Amaya, walking towards the darkness. I think she's scared. But the strangest thing was, as she entered the forest, the darkness she had seen from the outside was nowhere to be seen. Once within the trees, she could see everything, and it was wondrous. "It was just an illusion," said the wolf. "When we bring the light of our presence to something, there is little we cannot understand. And as we begin to understand, our fear, like the darkness, begins to fade." The first streaks of light brushed the sky. And that is the end